I was talking to Mina Johnson the other day, and she asked me why I had stepped over into Panama while I was in Costa Rica in 1999. So I didn't find it in my diary, but I did find it on my hard drive. So I'm adding this to my diary here in 2021. But the date of this report was September the 19th, 1999. And it's called Wildlife on Easy Streets, Costa Rican and Panama Projects. After just a week in Central America, I am reminded how fortunate we are to live in the United States. The things we take for granted, like freedom, availability of goods, and the opportunity to shape our own destinies through education, creativity, and hard work, are luxuries far beyond the grasp of most of this planet's inhabitants. It's good to be home. Wildlife on Easy Streets Global Coordinator. Pat Quillen has spent the past 31 years devoted to intensive study and hands-on experience with the majority of small and medium-sized species of wild cats. In 1978, Pat founded S.O.S Care and still maintains the facility. She has become internationally known for her work and knowledge on housing, husbandry, behavior, nutrition, and infant and neonate nutrition and care of the world's small wild cats. In 1989, Pat was nominated for the Chevron Conservation Award, and she has been featured by CNN Science and Technology. Pat also assisted PBS and 20th Century Fox, BBC One, and National Geographic on film projects featuring wildcats. And she is a member of the World Conservation Union Species Survival Commission. She and the San Diego Zoo host the Small Felid Workshop each year, and she was selected to join the original 12 members of the American Zoological Association's Felid Taxon Advisory Group. Her family is currently comprised of 30 Margay, Tigrina, black-footed cats, sand cats, and a recently confiscated Serval. U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service has placed confiscated animals with Pat. She has consulted with zoos when they have problems with behavior or breeding. Her cats and her work are featured in many publications, and her name is widely recognized in the zoo world as a cat specialist. More importantly, there's not a cat we have encountered who didn't immediately recognize Pat as a kindred spirit. I met Pat at the Small Felid Workshop in Las Vegas in May of 1998 and visited with her again in April of 1999 at the AZA Felid Taxon Advisory Group meeting hosted by Disney in Orlando. Shortly thereafter, Pat visited Wildlife on Easy Street, and we had the chance to talk about our ultimate goals for the wildcats. We are both in the unenviable position of having to dedicate much of our time and resources into putting a Band-Aid on a gaping wound. It means the world to the cats we rescue, but it doesn't cure the problem. Our common goal is to make a difference that will preserve the cats in the wild and preserve the existing gene pool for future integrity of the species. Wildlife on Easy Street and S.O.S Care go worldwide. Pat shared with me the details of the project in which she has participated in Brazil and those that she's been negotiating in other countries in the world. When she was invited by Yolanda de Matamoros, president of the Central American Zoological Association and director of the Simón Bolívar Zoo in San Jose, to come advise them on housing and husbandry of their cats, she asked Wildlife on Easy Street to come and share the concepts and designs that have proven useful, economical, and enjoyable to the 146 cats that we house. Almost all of the 28 cat species are endangered, and many are perched right on the edge of destruction. And some people have said there's 35 species, so that number has been changing over the years. Most of the exotic cats in the U.S. are termed generic, meaning there is no known purity of the subspecies. It has taken the thousands of years that humans have dominated animals for us to realize, only in the very recent past, that we have to plan for the future or there won't be one. Only in your lifetime have we started to concern ourselves with preserving our very life support system. The concept of zoos as collections for amusement has only recently begun to evolve into a Noah's Ark for survival of the species and as a forum to educate the masses. In this time, zoos have formed national and global alliances and have been instrumental in the formation of laws to protect the animals in the wild. They have begun keeping records and genealogies to encourage the best probable pairings of captive animals. Although the improvements have been vast, they are finding that, without new blood, it may be too late to ensure the continuation of many of the cat families. We must maintain pure subspecies if there will ever be any hope of reintroduction to the wild. Pat relayed this simple yet comprehensive example. Margay and Mexico have frequent exposure to rattlesnakes, and down through the generations, it passed the ability to recognize the rattlesnake as a deadly adversary. Margay and Costa Rica have had practically no experience with these deadly snakes, and their curiosity would draw them to the rattling sound. To release subspecies from the wrong region can result in a cat who will seek out a snake that will kill him. We have the tools and techniques to study wild populations in different regions. We need to know what the prey base and potential dangers are for each subspecies and condition the cats accordingly if this is to succeed. It requires worldwide participation to preserve the animals in captivity until enough progress has been made in preserving and protecting habitat to make release a viable reality. The cats who are native to Central America are the jaguar, puma, ocelot, margay, tigrina. Had to go lock up a tiger so we could work on our cage. The cats who are native to Central America are the jaguar, puma, ocelot, margay, tigrina, and jaguarundi. The problems these cats face is loss of habitat through deforestation, pollution, and poaching for their pelts and the pet trade. While all of the Central American countries have enacted laws against the illegal trade in these endangered species, they don't have the money or the manpower to effectively combat the loss of precious natural resources. In every country we visited, we were alarmed by the common statements by the wildlife ministers. We think our wild populations are in great danger because fewer and fewer are being found or reported. They all claim that until recently there were always roadkill, confiscations, and kittens turned in with no mothers that led them to know that the cats were still around. Now it is a rare occurrence. Think for a moment what that means. A forest with no carnivores will soon be overrun with herbivores. Without balance, the rodents and other plant-eating animal populations will explode, and they will consume all of the plant matter, including crops meant for human consumption. Without food and without the oxygen provided by the rainforest, how long can man survive? This isn't just another save the animals pitch. This is a matter of life and death for all of us. Yes, I've been screaming this since at least 1999. Developing countries are realizing the importance of sustaining the balance of nature. They have set in motion the laws to protect the animals and forests and have delegated power to their ministers and directors of wildlife. National zoos have been established to protect animals who have been confiscated from traffickers, smugglers, and citizens who have captured the kittens to raise, only to discover how wild they can be when half-grown. The cats come to zoos emaciated from being fed meatless diets with a myriad of problems, from self-mutilation to a dwarf-like appearance from a lack of vitamins and minerals. The Central American zoos are poorly funded and face the same problems. They often cannot afford the quality and quantity of meat, nor the vitamins and supplements. An ocelot will eat, at one meal, more meat than is used to feed a poor family for a week. It is hard to solicit public support in a region where life is such a hardship. The zoos strive to educate their visitors about conservation, but have limited resources to do so. None of the zoos we visited had a website, nor did the public schools have internet access to retrieve the information. The zoos could not afford reference books for the keepers. Not even the veterinarians had access to books, charts, or any information other than what they owned themselves. Imagine being responsible for a typical collection of 300 animals without any information, without the most basic tools, and often without drugs, vaccines, or supplies. Compound this by the antiquated caging that is rusty, decaying, always damp, and impossible to disinfect. The cages were built back in the times when animals were displayed until they died and then and then replaced. They were not designed to prevent injury, and many share common walls. Oftentimes, animals die from reaching a paw into the cage of their neighbor. Even if they aren't ripped to pieces, they can die from infection. It was nothing short of miraculous that these cats were in relatively good condition. Despite all of the challenges to these circumstances, the Central American people are a race of hard-working men and women who are proud of their stable governments and their national heritage. The people involved know that these cats are a precious natural treasure to be protected and preserved. The ministers, directors, veterinarians, keepers, and staff we all met with were well educated and determined. The Costa Rican Minister of Wildlife previously served 2 terms as the Minister of Justice and knows well the problems associated with protecting the animals. Annabel Julio has been the attending veterinarian for the Summit Zoo in Panama for the past 10 years and was acting director for the zoo during our stay. She works closely with the Panama Administrators General, Lucida Cruzcayo. These people and the caregivers we met all love their animals, as was evidenced by the way the animals responded to them. Despite being 8 months pregnant, zoo nutritionist Andrea Brenes weathered the rain and rough terrain to discuss the cat's diet with us. Veterinarian Danilo Leandro took time out of his busy schedule to discuss medical equipment and general husbandry practices. Architects like Franco Alvarenga donate their time to the zoos and sat with us for hours, drafting cage designs that would be practical, functional, and secure for the cats. It was obvious by the way everyone pitched in and worked together that they would do anything in their power to improve the quality of life for their wards. Everyone we met was painfully aware of the urgent need to study and preserve the remnants of the last surviving wildcat populations. The Central American people are eager to learn and to implement this knowledge into action. In any project, the most costly and time-consuming efforts are in creating the infrastructure on which the finished product is erected. In the organizations we are working with, that foundation of land, staff, and political support already exists. The plan is to work hand in hand with each country in which viable wild populations of felids still remain. Rehabilitation facilities will be established to enable the zoos to successfully return as many cats as possible to the wild. We seek to set up conservation breeding programs in situ using only the animals who have been confiscated that are not capable of survival if released. We will help in the design of, and keep in mind, this is where my head was in 1999. I do not believe that any of these cats belong in cages now. We seek to set up conservation, I already said that. We will help in the design of the cages to maximize the animal's comfort to ensure successful breeding and mother rearing of the progeny. We will assist in all aspects of wildcat husbandry, including disease control, eradication of parasites, proper nutrition, safe breeding practices, and most importantly, recognizing each animal as an individual and meeting its emotional needs accordingly. The offspring of the native cats will be available to replenish and strengthen our U.S. populations. With selective breeding and careful management, we intend to perpetuate all of the exotic cat species until such time as there is enough protected habitat to sustain them the way God intended. S.O.S. Care and Wildlife on Easy Street are excited to be pioneering these bold conservation projects, but we can't do it without your help. You have the opportunity to be involved in projects that will make a global impact. Unlike any other conservation charity, you have the satisfaction of seeing every dollar contributed put into action and not into administrative fees and salaries. Pat and I attended these conferences at our own expense and did not use Wildlife on Easy Street donations to do so. We spent $2,000 of our own hard-earned money and took time away from our own responsibilities to the 230 animals we are responsible for to set the wheels in motion. We hope that you will recognize this chance to be part of history. It is always just a handful of dedicated people who really make a difference. You will be a living example of the motto, making a difference today to ensure survival tomorrow. Big business and corporate America aren't going to invest in any project until they see that it is a public priority and that it can't fail. It's now or never for the exotic cats of Central America. They can't hold out without our help. This is more important than just making a charitable donation for tax purposes or to feel good about yourself. This is an investment in a living planet for you, your children, and your children's children. Do the right thing and give generously. And then I finish it with the contact information for Wildlife on Easy Street. So back in 1999, I really thought that you could work together with the zoos, that they really cared about conservation, and that this would be a way that the accredited zoos, the AZA zoos, could continue to have some of these small cats in their collections without inbreeding them, for bringing in the genes from these cats who were not releasable into the wild. But what I have since learned is that none of the captive breeding programs for cats of any size have any success rate out there other than the Iberian lynx, which is being done in Spain. And so it's just not viable for us to be breeding cats in captivity to put them in the wild. We need to protect them in the wild where they are to begin with. But in 1999, I didn't know any better. So I was trying to get people involved in saving these cats in the best way that I knew how at the time. And I found in 1999, people did not care. And we are living today in 2021 with the results of people not caring about their planet. Man, if I had seen this coming, could I have preached any louder? Could I have been any more vocal? I don't know.